Friends, stop pouring your hard-earned money into those shiny supplement bottles sitting on your medicine cabinet every single morning, because walking into CVS or Walgreens to buy joint pills might be the biggest illusion of your senior years. In my decades practicing medicine, I have watched 5-year-olds swallow dozens of capsules yet remain completely trapped in their armchairs, while 80-year olds who never spend a single dime on joint supplements are out there moving with total freedom. The difference is not luck, it is mechanical. Now, test number one at the very end of today's list is going to completely alter how you look at your own body, something that multi-billion-dollar pharmaceutical corporations desperately pray you never discover. Stay with me because you cannot afford to miss that specific revelation. Before we dive deep into the specific mechanics of this movement checklist, I want to address you directly because your voice shapes this growing digital community. Leave a comment right below this video and tell me exactly how old you are today. Also, write down the one physical activity you still perform that makes you feel genuinely alive. I read every single comment posted on this channel. Every single one. Your personal journeys matter to me, and they matter immensely to thousands of individuals in this space who need real reassurance that it is completely possible to thrive at 65, at 75, and way beyond. But let us be completely honest about what happens when you turn on your television in the morning. As an older adult living in America, you are absolutely barraged by aggressive commercials for joint supplements. Every commercial break tells you that if you do not buy this capsule or that powder, your knees will decay. They show active seniors smiling while holding plastic pill bottles, creating an intense, unspoken psychological fear inside your mind. You begin to feel immense guilt, believing that your daily physical aches or your stiff lower back are entirely your fault because you did not spend enough money on those premium health supplements. I am here to tell you plainly that you need to release that unnecessary guilt right now. You are not suffering because of a lack of chemical pills. The persistent stiffness you experience while walking to the kitchen or trying to garden in your backyard is not a dietary deficiency. It is a mechanical signal. Your body does not require an expensive product to heal itself. It requires precise, structured mechanical movement. Our healthcare system has conditioned you to reach for a quick fix in a plastic jar instead of looking at how your muscles actually function together. We are counting down today from number 3 to number 1, moving directly from impressive physical function to truly extraordinary longevity markers. If you can successfully execute all 3 of these tasks, you possess a body that defies mainstream expectations. Let us start unpacking these critical movement patterns together right now. We begin our tactical countdown with number 3. You can comfortably perform multi-directional movements, such as stepping out wide to the side or bending down low to scoop up a stray pickleball from the court without experiencing a single flash of pain in your lower back or knees. I know exactly what you might be thinking right now. That sounds like an ordinary aspect of basic daily movement. But I need you to listen to me very carefully here. If you struggle to make this lateral transition without your joints screaming in protest, you are dealing with a critical anatomical bottleneck that has absolutely nothing to do with a lack of glucosamine. To truly understand why this specific test matters, you have to look closely at a patient named John, a 68-year-old retired assembly worker living out in Ohio. John came into my clinic completely disheartened because he could no longer perform his favorite weekend activities. He could not bend down to properly tend to his front lawn mower without sharp, shooting pain, and he had completely stopped playing weekend sports with his grandchildren in the park. He felt his independence slipping away. He spent hundreds of dollars every month on premium joint capsules because he assumed his cartilage was simply drying up with age. When I examined John, I did not check his knees first. I checked his hips, and what I found was that his hip joints were completely locked up, virtually frozen in place from years of sitting and poor movement mechanics. Here is the literal biomechanical reality of the human body that the mainstream supplement industry desperately tries to hide from you. Your knee is not designed to rotate or absorb massive multidirectional forces on its own. It is a simple, submissive hinge joint. It is entirely caught in the middle. Think of your lower body skeletal structure exactly like an intricate suspension bridge. In this mechanical system, your hip joint is the massive, heavy-duty main cable designed to absorb weight, rotate fluidly, and manage multi-directional tension. Your knee is merely a supporting strut. If that main cable at the hip becomes frozen, tight, and completely rigid due to inactivity, the system collapses. Every ounce of impact, every twisting motion, and every bit of physical load is forced to bypass the hip and slam directly downward into the knee. The knee becomes overloaded, inflamed, and structurally exhausted. John's knees were not failing because they lacked expensive nutritional building blocks. They were failing because his hips had stopped doing their job. You can easily evaluate this system right now in the comfort of your own living room. Stand with your feet directly under your shoulders, face forward, and attempt to step wide to the right, sinking your weight slightly down as if you were reaching for an item on a low coffee table, then push back up fluidly to the center. Repeat this motion toward the left side. If your knee pinches, or if your lower back is forced to round completely forward to compensate for the movement, your hip mobility is severely compromised. When John stopped relying on those massive plastic bottles of supplements and instead dedicated just 10 minutes every day to targeted mechanical hip opening movements, something incredible happened. Within 2 months, his hip rotation was restored. The chronic mechanical overload on his knees vanished completely, and he was back on the local court playing pickleball with his family without taking a single pill. That is not a medical miracle. That is pure fundamental physics at work. If you want to preserve your independence, you must stop looking for answers in a pill bottle and start looking at the structural cables of your joints. Now we must confront the multi-billion-dollar elephant in the room. It is the commercial industry that has completely captured the attention of senior citizens across the United States. I want you to picture your monthly routine. Your hard-earned Social Security checks arrive, and before you even budget for high-quality organic groceries, fresh anti-inflammatory berries, or grass-fed proteins that actually nourish your cellular health, a massive portion of that fixed income is immediately signed over to supplement companies. You are buying giant, colorful plastic jars of glucosamine and chondroitin, believing with absolute certainty that these expensive compounds will magically coat your aching knee cartilage and wash away your structural pain. It is an incredibly comforting narrative, and it is precisely what the mainstream marketing machine wants you to believe. But we are here today to look directly at the uncompromising truth of medical science. A definitive, massive clinical trial directly investigated this exact issue. The highly respected New England Journal of Medicine published the landmark GATE study, which stands for the Glucosamine Chondroitin Arthritis Intervention Trial. This rigorous, large-scale investigation set out to determine once and for all whether these heavily advertised supplements actually performed miracles for aging joints. The final scientific conclusion of this historic medical trial was absolutely staggering, and it should stop you completely cold. The researchers discovered that these expensive, highly praised supplements did not provide any statistically significant pain relief whatsoever when compared directly to a completely harmless, inert sugar pill, a mere placebo, for the vast majority of patients suffering from significant, widespread knee osteoarthritis. Think about that reality for a brief moment. Thousands of older adults are standing in line at big box retailers, sacrificing their limited retirement budgets for capsules that perform no better under strict scientific scrutiny than a simple piece of chalk. That is a massive punchline that should make you question every single health advertisement flashing across your television screen. The global pharmaceutical complex has successfully commercialized aging, turning your natural structural vulnerability into a highly profitable, recurring subscription model. They want you to believe your body is fundamentally broken and cannot function without a synthetic chemical crutch. But as a medical professional who has monitored the biological reality of human musculoskeletal degradation for over 3 decades, I must tell you plainly that your cartilage does not function like a dry sponge waiting to absorb a magic pill. The human joint is a living, dynamic mechanical interface. When a massive clinical trial published in a journal as prestigious as the New England Journal of Medicine confirms that these popular supplements fail to outperform a basic placebo for broad osteoarthritis relief, it means we are looking in the completely wrong direction for structural healing. The absolute illusion of the quick fix has blinded us to the true laws of human biology. Every single time you swallow one of those giant capsules, instead of addressing how your muscles actually distribute your daily physical weight, you are simply kicking the structural problem down the road while your financial resources drain away. True independent longevity cannot be purchased over the counter in a plastic bottle at CVS. It must be actively built through proper mechanical stress and physical adaptation. The medical establishment has heavily conditioned you to rely on external products because there is absolutely no corporate profit to be made from a free, self-directed home movement routine. But your body responds to physical load, not marketing promises. It is time to stop subsidizing the multi-billion-dollar supplement empire with your retirement funds and start investing your daily energy into the proven, undeniable mechanics of your own muscular system. We are going to transition directly into our next critical milestone, which will expose the exact muscular phrenology responsible for keeping your knees entirely safe from daily impact. We now move directly to number 2 on our tactical breakdown. I want you to step away from your television screen for just a single moment. Walk directly into your dining room and locate a standard, cushioned dining chair. This next evaluation requires you to sit completely flat on that chair. Cross your arms securely across your chest and attempt to transition from a full seated position to a complete stand exactly 10 times in rapid succession. You must do this without using your arms for assistance, without rocking your torso aggressively forward to gain momentum, and most importantly, without experiencing a single flash of pain or deep throbbing in your kneecaps. I know what you might be thinking as you stand next to your dining table. This seems like a completely rudimentary test of basic lower body stability, but I need you to listen to me very carefully. This specific action is an incredibly accurate diagnostic window into the exact functional status of your biological shock absorbers. If you perform this sit-to-stand movement and your knees pop, click, or feel an intense grinding sensation, the mainstream medical system has conditioned you to assume that your cartilage is completely worn down. They want you to immediately buy an expensive synthetic joint capsule to patch the issue. But let us look directly at the real anatomical science that governs your skeletal system. Your knee joint is entirely a submissive hinge. It possesses no independent power to stabilize itself against the continuous downward force of your body weight. The true guardian of your knee is the massive, teardrop-shaped muscular network sitting right above it, your quadriceps, the powerful thigh muscles. To help you visualize this connection, I want you to picture an iconic, classic American Ford driving down a steep, winding mountain road. In this physical system, your quadriceps muscles function exactly like the vehicle's heavy-duty front brake pads. Your actual knee joint is the spinning brake rotor. If those massive front brake pads remain thick, highly responsive, and structurally powerful, they absorb nearly all of the kinetic energy and heat generated by the vehicle's downward momentum, keeping the entire car perfectly controlled. But if those mechanical brakes become severely thin, and completely neglected through structural inactivity, the vehicle does not miraculously stop. The tremendous mechanical stress bypasses the brake pad entirely and slams directly into the bare metal rotor. The system overheats, sparks fly, and the vehicle eventually crashes straight into a stone wall. When you sit inactive in an armchair for hours or depend on synthetic pills instead of physical movement, your thigh muscles rapidly atrophy, thinning out like those worn-down brakes. Every single time you step off a street curb, walk down your porch stairs, or push up from a chair, Your knee joint is forced to absorb the unmitigated impact of your entire body weight without any muscular protection. It is pure mechanical friction. You do not need to accept this degradation as an inevitable consequence of aging. Robust data compiled within the comprehensive PubMed and Cochrane database provides definitive, peer-reviewed clarity on this mechanical reality. Extensive systematic evaluations published within the Cochrane database conclusively demonstrate that structured physical exercise aimed at improving joint range of motion while systematically building targeted strength in the quadriceps and core muscles provides significant, measurable pain relief and functional restoration for compromised knee structures. In fact, under strict clinical observation, these targeted mechanical interventions consistently deliver therapeutic outcomes that are completely equivalent to, or in many analyses, significantly better than conventional long-term pharmacological treatments. This scientific reality completely changes the entire paradigm of senior health. It proves with absolute empirical certainty that the solution to your localized stiffness and structural limitations is not locked inside an expensive bottle of pills manufactured by a pharmaceutical conglomerate. The answer is already hardwired into your own musculoskeletal system. When you actively train your thigh muscles using the weight of your own body against a simple household chair, you are literally rebuilding the front brakes of your vehicle. You are lifting the crushing physical load off your fragile joint cartilage and forcing your active muscle fibers to manage the daily impact of your life. Let us now move to the absolute climax of today's checklist, the number one movement pattern that underpins your entire physical survival. We now arrive at the single most critical evaluation on our list. Number one, this is the ultimate test of your core stability, and it is an action you can perform right now on your living room rug or while navigating the daily environment of your own home. I want you to visualize a very common scenario for older adults living in suburban America. Imagine walking out to your attached garage or stepping outside onto your back patio. To do this, you must step upward onto the elevated suburban house steps or the concrete border of your garage threshold. The test is simple. Can you step upward onto that single elevated platform or balance fluidly in a bridge position on your living room floor, keeping your spine completely erect, your pelvis perfectly stable, and your posture aligned without experiencing a sharp, sudden ache in your lower lumbar spine or a direct pinching sensation in your knees? I know exactly what you might be thinking as you look at the steps leading into your home. This seems like a completely ordinary, isolated movement, but you must understand the deep physiological connection at play here. When your knees ache during a simple step or when your lower back throbs after standing at the kitchen counter for 10 minutes, your immediate instinct is to blame localized joint decay. The mainstream medical industrial complex has deeply conditioned you to believe that your cartilage is falling apart and that you must immediately purchase joint medication. The structural reality is that your knee and back pain is frequently a direct byproduct of an entirely silent, neglected breakdown happening at the very center of your body. Your core muscles, the deep abdominal wall, the obliques, and the stabilizing tissue surrounding your pelvis function as the literal foundation of your entire skeletal structure. When your core stability deteriorates due to postural neglect or a lack of specific engagement, your body does not stop moving. Instead, it is forced to completely alter its mechanical alignment. Without a strong central anchor, the heavy structural load of your entire upper torso drops straight down, completely bypassing your natural shock absorbers and slamming directly into your lower back vertebrae and your mechanical knee joints. Your joints are literally being crushed from the inside out because your center has fallen asleep. To understand how powerful it is to correct this mechanical flaw, you only need to look at the clinical history of a patient named Mary, a 72-year-old grandmother living in Texas. Mary walked into my office completely consumed by chronic knee inflammation and lower back stiffness. She had been told by multiple acquaintances that her joints were simply bone on bone, and she was actively preparing her mind for a highly invasive, expensive total knee replacement surgery. She felt utterly defeated, assuming her days of independent living were coming to a permanent end. When I evaluated Mary, I did not focus on her knee cartilage. I placed her on a therapy mat and evaluated her core stability. Her stabilizing muscles were completely inactive, forcing her lower back and knees to manage all the mechanical torque of her daily movement. Instead of writing a prescription or referring her to a surgical center, I prescribed a series of simple, zero-cost core stabilization movements that she could perform directly on her living room rug. Within months of consistent, targeted physical training designed to wake up her abdominal anchor and strengthen her deep core tissue, the excessive mechanical load on her lower extremities disappeared. The persistent back stiffness vanished, her knee pain subsided completely, and Mary canceled her surgical consultation. She reclaimed her complete physical autonomy without a single medical procedure. This profound transformation is thoroughly validated by rigorous, objective data compiled within the global PubMed and Cochrane database. Peer-reviewed systematic evaluations conclusively show that dedicated physical exercise focused on improving core stabilization and muscle strength dramatically reduces mechanical strain on both the lumbar spine and lower extremity joints. Under strict scientific review, these self-directed movement protocols deliver functional outcomes and pain reduction that easily match or significantly exceed the results of conventional, passive chemical therapies. When you strengthen your core, you are providing your joints with a completely free, natural shield against the physical forces of gravity. This entire systematic checklist brings us back to a singular, profound realization about aging in America. Independence is not merely a collection of physical exercises or a practical matter of convenience. It is the ultimate expression of your personal dignity. It represents your absolute right to look forward to the future on your own terms. It is the quiet, daily joy of waking up early to brew your own morning coffee, stepping out to fetch the Sunday newspaper from your front driveway, and driving your own vehicle down to the local supermarket every single weekend without ever having to rely on your adult children to push you in a wheelchair or manage your steps. It is about taking a relaxing evening stroll through your local neighborhood park with your head held high, completely fueled by the innate strength of your own muscular structure. I need you to hear me with complete clarity right now. The mainstream YHawk establishment has heavily conditioned older adults to accept a narrative of constant limitation, convincing you that the moment you cross 65 or 75, your physical body becomes an outdated machine that can only survive through a recurring subscription of synthetic chemical pills. But the actual clinical data we have explored today from the most respected journals in the world proves that this is a complete illusion. Your physical frame, even at 70, 75, or 80 years old, retains an absolutely beautiful, miraculous capacity for mechanical adaptation and cellular recovery when you simply provide it with the correct structural load and targeted movement. If this detailed evaluation gave you genuine value today, if it provided you with a new sense of hope or a powerful reminder that your physical autonomy is something worth fighting for, please take exactly 5 seconds right now to hit that subscribe button and give this video a prominent like. Share this specific message immediately with someone you love dearly who is currently navigating this season of life, because we are actively building a dedicated community right here, a community of individuals who absolutely refuse to accept that growing older means diminishing. Before you leave, I want to hear from you directly. Which of these 3 specific mechanical assessments surprised you the most, and which movement pattern are you going to intentionally practice in your living room this week? Tell me your story down in the comments section. Take care of yourself today, because you are worth it. I will see you in the next video.